Badger, I'm a badger.
Hey everyone, it is the Angry Honey Badger here. It's time for another champion build video today. It is us playing as Karthus. And ignore the jumpy camera. I had to use the footage from an actual live recorded match that I was going to make a Skype game, but we'll just use it for a build because the other footage is corrupt. So, if it bounces around a little bit too much, I'm sorry. But until then, let's talk about Karthus today. So, first off, I do terrible early because I play a lot of Mordekaiser, or used to, and I know how Mordekaiser works. So I was scared that I was going to get completely crushed in this lane, so I played way too safe and missed a ton of farm early. But then I learned that this Mordekaiser is terrible at Mordekaiser, and we just roll him later. So ignore the pretty terribleness early. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to do multiple things. We're going to talk about Karthus, what he brings to the table, some pros and some cons. We're going to talk about his abilities. We're going to talk about his runes, his masteries, just a little bit of everything you need to know about Karthus. Here we're going to get a gank by my buddy the Game Station. He's going to come in. We're going to put some damage down. He uses the bandage toss after, which is the smart way to use it. We'll use one more Q and pick up a kill on Zed Mordekaiser. And very helpful. Oh, also you hear random talking in the background, maybe if you have your volume turned up really high. So, yes. What we're going to do, though, is cover all that stuff. So starting off, let's talk about his abilities. Starting off with this passive. This is his Death Defied. What happens here is, for Death Defied, upon dying, you really don't die. You enter a spirit-like presence. You allows you to cast abilities for the next 7 seconds. They also don't cost you any mana while you're in the state. You can use your ultimate, but make sure you get it off before you run out of time to cast it, because if you try to cast it late, it just don't work out for you. So that's your passive. At level 1, we put a point into our Q ability, which is Lay Waste. You're going to create that little bubble thing. After 0.5 seconds, it goes off. It deals magic damage, scales from ability power. And if it hits a single target, it's going to deal double damage. Here we get into a fight. We put down the slow to slow these two. Mord keeps chasing. He gets a little bit of a shield up, but guess what? One more pop. He's so low, I go to ult, but guess what? He dies to minions. So
Minions killed him.
we would have secured it anyways, but, whatever. He overcommitted. That would be him showing that he's not amazing. Also, then we get the move in also, and we get Game Station to pick up another kill, and we pick up another assist. So pretty helpful stuff right there for us. So that was our Lay Waste, though, at level 1 that we talked about. At level 2, put a point into your Defile, typically. You could put a point into your Wall of Pain. We'll talk about it in a second, though, if you wanted to play safe. But Defile, this is your E ability. What happens here when you toggle this on and off, when it's off or whenever, blah, 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 all the time, toggle off. When Karthus kills a unit, it restores blank amount of mana. When it's on, it's going to drain your mana over time. It's going to deal magic damage per second to the nearby enemies that are standing in it. So that is how it works. It's going to deal a lot of AoE damage. It's great in late game team fights. Then at level 3, typically actually put a point back into your Lay Waste. If you didn't put a point into your Wall of Pain, put a point to it at level 4 or 3, however you want to do that. This is going to create a wall when targets pass through it. It reduces their magic resist by 15% and reduces their movement speed. It scales upward as you put points into it. It starts at 40%, goes up to 80%, and the debuff lasts for 5 seconds. The wall also lasts for 5 seconds. Here, Mordekaiser is getting low again because we've been poking at him with our Q while we've been farming, but not amazingly. Here's the ultimate because we just poked him one more time. What he should have done, if he was smarter, he would have turned and he would have hit the minions to get his shield up to potentially save his life. I wasn't worried about that, though, because he's not that good, so I'm finding out. But that's okay. I'll take it. I just want to farm early anyways. Things about Karthus is he is a late game scaler, and he deals lots of damage late game, and that's the way I play him. So that's how that works. And then finally, your ultimate is your Requiem. After channeling for 3 seconds, Karthus is going to deal magic damage to all enemy champions, regardless of their distance. This is a global ultimate. It scales from ability power as well. Only starts at 250 damage, not a lot early, and then it scales really well as you build lots more AP later on. Here we're going to put the wall up to try to get him messed up. We get the Game Station in a movement to throw down the ultimate, and we're going to be able to pick up an assist on Mord. It's a pretty easy gankable lane, especially when Mord pushes. He has no hard escape ability besides his flash, so if Mord's going to push, he's got to make sure he either stays in fights, or he shouldn't do that. Or ward up really well. He could do that too. Yes, let's continue onward. So those are your abilities. Let's talk about some pros and cons, though, for Karthus. So, starting off with some pros, huge damage output as the game scales. he late game will deal a lot of damage, which is nice. He does good damage early too, especially with those lay wastes when they hit one target. Those hurt. That double damage is quite a lot. The global ultimate is pretty nice. You pretty much are going to hit everyone. It allows you to pick up kills across the map. If you're playing with your friends, somebody gets away under their turret and they're not going to be able to die without surrendering their life to it. All they have to say is, hey, blah, 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 hey, Karthus, use your ult. Gets you a kill, gets them an assist, lets them win their lane easier, and it gets you fed without really doing much work. So that's a nice thing about Karthus. Now, some other things. You can farm pretty safely with your Q. Not very tough. Obviously, make sure you use it better than I did for the beginning part of the game. And your Bear's basically going to always be guaranteed some sort of damage because of your passive. So when you're dead, you're still going to deal damage. Here we actually get a little bit out in here because Nami's a little bit away. We're going to deal some decent damage, though. Once again, throwing it down moored. One more Q is going to pick up the kill on him, which is helpful for us. And we'll keep that going. Now, there are some cons to Karthus as well, as there are with all champions. He is very squishy early on. He's pretty easy to kill. That's one thing. He also needs decent farm to get that things going. So whether that's with kills or actual farm, you need that to really keep your things going as the game goes on. Doesn't have much CC, obviously. He's got the wall. That's it. And he has no hard escape. The other thing you may also say is he can have a rough laning phase, depending on who he's up against. I thought I would have one because I thought Mord would either shove the wave down into the tower early, which would make it a little bit harder to farm early on, or I thought he'd poke me out of lane because that's what I'd do to a Karthus as Mord. It would have been suitable. Can be countered, obviously. Just that no escapability really. So late game is what you're shooting for. So to worry about late game, let's talk about our build. So at level 1, I actually started with a mana crystal. Here I'm actually gonna get engaged on from the bot lane. I'm going to have them standing in this, all this damage. I'm trying to get these Qs off on Caitlyn. She's actually doing a good job of dodging them, but she's still standing in it, so she's going to die. Also, at this point, I'm still dealing damage even dead, so I could be Qing too. It would have been hard for her to really get away. So I at least exchanged one kill there, but she did a good job of dodging that for a while. Yes. Anyways, so at level 1, I actually started with the mana crystal and pots because right away, or not right away, but early on in the game, I like to try to build my catalyst because catalyst is great. It's going to supply you with health, which will keep you safe in lane, a little bit beefier, which is helpful to avoid that rough laning phase. There we kill Mord again. And then it also gives you that mana and health regeneration every time you hit a level, which is really nice. Two things that really help Karthus out through the early game. Now, another thing that I also did pick up and started stacking was a tier, because tier will be building into my Seraph's Embrace eventually, which right now it's not fully built, but it's a staff currently. And then we did take that Catalyst, and we built that into the Rod of Ages. Now, those two items go hand in hand. They both scale really well through mid-game, which is going to help Karthus with a little bit of survivability, more mana, which is going to help scale off the Seraph's Embrace to get even more damage. And then once we pick up a Deathcap, which will be pretty much our next main item, we're going to really hit some big damage spikes as the game's in its continuing form. So we're going for the late game damage. So both the items are scaling items. We're going to get in on top of them. I'm actually going to get bursted down. I do get hooked, actually, as Thresh dies, which locks me down. I will actually pick up a double kill, though, which is pretty nice, and shut down Rengar.
I'll take it.
And that's not too bad for Karthus. If Karthus dies and takes out 1 or 2 people with them, that's pretty much worth. As you go on in this game, as long as you keep going, and you keep picking up kills and farm, you're always going to technically be ahead. We did finish off our Magic Penetration boots as well. We threw an ultimate down there to help the team. See if anything we could get that going for him. And yeah, now we're working on our Deathcap. So after we finish off our Deathcap and we keep scaling up our staff, we're really going to hit an enormous power spike. We're already doing okay too. I mean, we're doing fine because we have 8 kills right now, but we're really going to hit a big power spike. So that's what we're currently working on. So those are just some of the pros and cons and the early parts of the build. Like I said, we go for the extreme late game. So you kind of forfeit buying, your first trip back a needlessly large rod, or, really just straight damage, because you want to scale. And as you scale, you really want to make it to late game. That's at least how the mentality of Mordekaiser, or not Mordekaiser, sorry, Karthus works. I got more on the brain because I've been killing him. Anyways, moving on though to his masteries. It's pretty simple setup for most of those AP mids. I'm going to go with the 21-9-0. I'm just watching myself escape this ridiculous chase, and I don't know exactly how besides walls. And then, yeah, good save there by Moo. Actually going to go back to base now, pick up the Deathcap, and use my ultimate and pick up a quick kill on Thresh too. But anyways, 21-9-0 for those masteries is what you're going to take. It's pretty helpful. Obviously, just take everything in the offensive tree. That's going to help with your increasing ability power ratios. Everything help you out over there. As for your runes, I probably take the wrong ones in some people's eyes. I'm going to actually take the magic penetration marks. We're going to take the health seals. We're going to take the AP per level glyphs. Some people might take the magic resist ones there, but I want AP because they're going to scale through the game. They get me a lot of AP actually, which will be nice, and it'll all scale with my Deathcap. And then I also am going to get the AP quintessences. So we have decent damage. Am I going to get away again? No, no way I get away. I was going to say. There's no way I'm getting away from Trundle 2 times. That's just absurd. But that's what we go towards for that, for our runes, and that's what we're going to take. Now, just a second ago, before we picked up the next part of our build, we picked up another Blasting Wand and an Amplifying Tome. When we just had those 3 main items, we had the Seraphs, because it's been built, Seraph's Embrace, we have the Rod of Ages fully stacked, and we have the Deathcap. Those 3 items, and then with your runes and masteries, that was like 550 AP with 3 items because of the scaling from the mana on those 2 items in the way they scale. So it's just a ton of damage, really. Thanks, Freak. Tons of damage. So it's amazing. So at this point, what we want to do is obviously keep increasing our ability power ratios, and now we decided to pick up a Void Staff, which is something you could have maybe held off on for a little bit, but I haven't been getting murdered this game too hard, so I'm going to actually pick that up to help with all that magic penetration and more ability power. If we wanted to skip over that item a little bit and pick up something for survivability and safety, there's 2 options here. Now, if you're going up against a heavy AP mid and you really need magic resist against a hard AP team, Abyssal Scepter is going to help you out, especially when you have your Defile on and everybody's standing around you. Taking down their magic resist is going to help you deal even more damage. So that's pretty big right there. The other thing you could deal if you're going up against a Zed or you are getting super focused, let's say the enemy Rengar on this team. Oh, here I almost half-life Caitlyn with 1 and all, but she gets away with seriously like all of 15 health. Anyways, let's say you're getting deleted by the enemy Rengar. He's focusing you, which honestly he should be. He hasn't been this game, but that's fine. And you needed some stasis and more armor. You would want to rush your Zhonya's Hourglass, which is what we're actually building right now, which is why we picked up that cloth armor. We'll pick up the Seeker's arm guard part now. We can start scaling that a little bit. And right now we're at, it says 685 ability power, which isn't terrible. Could be worse. I think. Is that what it's going to be? Or when you... Yeah, okay. So 685, not too bad, if I'm reading that correctly. And, yeah, once we get the stasis, too, really nice with the Defile. You cannot use your ultimate, though, while you are in your stasis. That's not how that works. So you got to be careful about that. It's not like Kennen Ultimate, where you can use it and stay safe that way. Actually, another funny part, we're coming up close to the end of this game. This game is ridiculously sloppy, too. Like, the end of this game is super depressing, and you're going to see why. Get into a bit of a fight with Caitlyn. Moo goes to clean it up, but it won't quite happen. My ult's up, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it on her real quick and pick up the kill. And yeah, we're going to fast forward just for a second because this game is about to end. It's really depressing at this point. Our team started throwing really hard, to be honest. And the only reason we're going to actually win this game is because super minions are OP. I even said this, depressing that we're going to win this way. They're pushing super hard, but if we look in their base right now, we're going to win with the Winions. So that's actually going to be it for Karthus build. Everything is in the description. And put any comments below if you have any questions. But I'll just see all of you guys in the next build video. Here they all group up, and the shockwaves miss. So we're going to actually flash in, use the ultimate, pick up a kill immediately on Fiddlesticks. Orianna gets out. Ezreal flashes over the wall, get out of the way. Our team picks up a couple more kills real quick.